Okay, so in my head, cases were just okay this year until I revisited what we reviewed, and cases were good people this year, my friends. My case of the year is a little bit of a surprise, so I'll save that for later, but let's begin with the most impressive category and a really good shout out to the Hyte Y60. This is their first ATX chassis. Now this thing took the space by storm with their compact dual chamber layout and gorgeous design inside and out. I love all the ventilation lines on the interior, on the exterior paneling, the tempered glass too that adds that angular stuff in the front. And this probably has the best looking Gen 4 riser cable out of all enclosures. And it's gonna properly give you the option to showcase your GPU in vertical orientation. And we also have two bottom fans for some additional airflow out of the box. And despite some flaws that I outlined in my full review, people absolutely love the Y60 with its solid 5-star rating. And that, my friends, is very rare, especially for case reviews coming from Amazon. The Torrent Compact from Fractal is another impressive gem with absolutely incredible airflow out of the box. The two 180mm fans move so much air in this smallish mid-tower, so you never have to worry about temperatures. If you're building an air-cooled machine, I would say definitely keep those two front fans because otherwise you cannot relocate them anywhere else. And having the power supply at the top is really refreshing, honestly, because you don't have to take out the power supply if you have to plug or unplug any extra of the modular cables. And the entire assembly is just super straightforward. You'll fall in love with PC building again. Mwah. The LandCool 3. So the series gets a facelift every year, and they've definitely managed to do stuff with panels like no one else. So we have 3 SSD mounts on the bottom side ventilated panel. If there's room, why not? On top of the ventilated PSU shroud, you can install 3 fans or the drives in those locations and even move the whole thing forward to give you more clearance away from the PCI slots. The cable cover is on rails and can extend forward to support eATX motherboards, and you can still pass like smallish cables without using the rubber grommets because that thing has a bit of a spacing there. The top panel is removable and can mount a 420 radiator, plus the front panel is mind-blowing with 4 possible locations to satisfy any front configuration while allowing you to relocate the front I/O to the bottom to make room for top-mounted cooling because it won't have any of those additional cables from the I/O. So let's just say, Lian Li, I'm looking forward to seeing how you designers can impress us forward in 2023. Especially because the O11 Dynamic Evo is my dual chamber recommendation if you're thinking of this like cool showcase with a lot of water cooling hardware and really care about the visuals. It's extremely easy to work with, so all the cooling panels are removable, the power supply and storage are at the back, so out of sight, which is the perfect opportunity to highlight your fans, your GPU, your CPU tower even, since there's now enough height clearance. You can relocate the I/O, which is something that apparently only Lian Li cases are doing. You can inverse the frame for the top-mounted GPU, and this is just a proper house for radiators, if you're into that. Phanteks is also strong on the facelift game this year with the G500A, so lots of quality of life improvements on there, like now a removable top panel for easy access, a redesigned front panel to be less restrictive, 4 different models to choose from, including a fanless version to save on some cash monies, and one of the best cooling cases on the market right now because of those powerful but pleasantly sounding 140mm fans at full blast. As you hear, they blow a good amount of air right into this transition for today's video sponsor. The all-new H7? What's not to like? It's like a perfectly tuned guitar or a sharpened knife, keeping the user happy and your hardware safe. The best part is the redesigned interior that is full of potential with 360 route support at the top and front, including 140mm mounts, a totally new cable management system and cable bar with of course vertical GPU support with this Gen 4 PCIe riser kit. The 3K styles are made to suit your needs, with the Flow being my favorite. I think this is the way to full tower your next build. Check out the new H7 when your heart desires. Welcome back. Say you're a fancy fella? So my pick for the best RGB case goes to the PureBase 500 FX from Be Quiet. I normally like subtle illumination in cases like the highlight strips on the Phanteks, the front strip on the O11 series that can display proper white as well, which is very beautiful. I love that infinity mirror design too on the front of the Shift XT that is super unique for case illumination, but man, be quiet did such a good job on the 500FX with this dual digital RGB strip on the front panel and the included case fans, so 3 at the front and 1 at the rear, that complement this entire illumination package. It's fancy on the eyes and the fingers too, since all this just plugs into this hub, so both cables are taken care of and all the color effects are synced throughout the whole thing. Absolutely gorgeous, well done. Of course, as many of you know, having a small case comes with a lot of responsibility, so I have 2 options in here that are fantastic for the small category. The Dan A4H20 is the definition of tight. It has great GPU fitment both in space and approach. A 240 radiator is supported because of that built-in top hat. Just be prepared to pull out some hair when doing cable management, as there's so little room to work with. But I'm actually super happy that Lian Li picked this up, because at $150, this price point is absolutely worth it for such a tiny 11 volume leader enclosure, especially because it comes with a Gen 4 riser cable. My runner-up in the ITX space, because I hate dealing with cables, is the less fiery NZXT H1V2. If you're looking for an absolute easy ITX experience on this planet, the H1V2 is it. The 750 watt power supply is pre-installed with pre-routed cables. The 140mm all-in-one cooler is decent enough to cool whatever CPU. We have a Gen 4 riser cable and this very large GPU chamber to appropriately cool massive cards in 2023, especially because they've redesigned that whole GPU side chamber for much better cooling. And on the surface, this $399 price point may look steep, but it's actually very competitive when you build out a similarly spec'd vertical ITX tower. The NR200 from Cooler Master is still my budget king in the ITX space, but man, good luck finding it in the first place, and good luck finding it for the launch price of $69. And while I'm sassy, let's explore the WTF category. Phanteks, my goodness, is still using those stupid plastic covers beside the motherboard that are horrible for cable management and not easy to work with. NZXT changed the name of the case series with the H5, added the fan shroud into the basement that made temperatures worse for my test configuration. How does that even work? It also rattles all over the place. Come on. The Lancool 3 with all the panels is the heaviest case of the year. I am genuinely concerned for people who don't engage that core when working with this thing. The Corsair 5000T is not all bad, but for $399, it got plenty bad. Bendy panels, extremely difficult to work with interior, no way to easy actually lift it after all the heavy water cooling goes in, just no, okay? The Tower 500 from Thermaltake is hilariously unoptimized for such a large volume enclosure, despite its unique vending machine vibes. Fractal. They made the Ridge, which is this perfect slim tower case with this fabric mesh for that beautiful visual contrast, but the GPU chamber is limited in height and large graphics cards simply won't fit. The Cooler Master HAF 700 EVO is the price of a graphics card, although to be fair, it almost needs its own category of the coolest case features, shall we? So this is clearly a flagship moment from where features trickle down into lower tiers. But first, I love this mirror element on the HAF 700 EVO that can be moved to the floor of the case to cleverly highlight the bottom of your GPU. It can also sit on the side of the motherboard for that infinity mirror effect. Plus, the circular screen at the front is probably the best stock implementation on the case to display system information and different animations. Phanteks is the only brand that includes this hidden anti-sag GPU bracket that corrects those horizontal lines on a beefy graphics card. The Fractal Pop got its share of praise for being the only case in the last 5 years, maybe, to include a 5¼ drive bay. It also may act as a little hidden storage compartment, but clearly more users want this outdated bay in their lives. And this is probably the only fun-looking mid-tower interior with 9 color options available, so choose wisely. Working on the tiny Dan A4H20 enclosure is made much easier thanks to all the screws being the same. So when you take the whole thing apart, it removes any confusion on what type screw goes where. Nice. Now you've probably noticed the only case missing throughout this video, which I've saved for last as my case of the year. The Fractal Design North. In 3 terms, it's beautiful, it's functional, and it's actually priced well. I feel like the wooden accents on the front panel are really changing the game of wanting to display your PC case as something that is mature. And from a details point of view, they really made something special with the bronze accents on the black model and the silver on the white, the little leather tab at the top, and the truly unique oak or walnut front panels. I am told they're properly dried, treated, sealed, and selected, so let's hope they don't crack over time. But I love the return of the mesh side panel as well as a concept and Fractal's approach to this additional side cooling with 3 locations, although the mesh isn't perfect and this might not benefit all configurations, like for example in my testing it really didn't. The best thing of all is that the core frame is without flaws, temperatures are totally fine, and based on the comments from my review, most of you agree this is an absolutely gorgeous case that brings Fractal to the front of the pack and deserves the Case of the Year status for 2022. Happy holidays and spend responsibly, my friends. And let me know if you agree.